Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Omega Tech Gaming Breakfast Podcast. And today we're doing something pretty special. We're actually doing an odd topic. I'll let TJ, my co-host, introduce it.
Hi, I'm TJ, otherwise known as Recluse. And due to the death of the Silent Hills game that came out, I want to talk to everybody today about the genre of horror in gaming and the gaming culture, and just how far it's declined as of late. To start off, the game, I hate talking about it, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Best game ever.
Oh my god.
It's Golden Freddy's behind you.
Recluse is now the only host.
It's a game about static images jumping at the screen versus games like Silent Hill 2, which was a psychological masterpiece, in my opinion, and there will be some fellatio for Silent Hill 2 today, but it was a great game. But I mean, compare the two games, and people just explode Five Nights at Freddy's with so much praise and adulation. It's unwarranted to me. It's just static images jumping at the screen. There's no real substance to it.
This is Jagd here. I can understand the hate on Five Nights at Freddy's. It is really just a jump scare spectacular. However, it does have pretty great story if you actually delve into what's going on. If you look into the background and see all the different storytelling that he does without actual gameplay. Like, a lot of the story that gets told is actually in the backgrounds in the newspapers. After you get paid at the end of the game, the newspaper clippings that are blurred out actually tells more of the stories as well.
Right, and Five Nights at Freddy's, was it 3, where you have to click on the arcade machine, make sure you click on the special cupcakes, punch in the wall tile combination.
Not saying that it's not convoluted, but the storyline is there, and I actually like it. Don't get me wrong, hate the gameplay. Don't really like the gameplay at all, but I actually really like the story of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Not hating on the storyline itself, it's just the way that that the game presents itself to, say, your average player. Like, trying to figure out a way to put this. A horror game should make me afraid that there's a psycho killer hiding behind this door from another dimension, rather than Freddy is going to jump at the screen. Oh, noes.
Oh no.
Are we? This is your boy Grim Samurai. Are we just assuming that the Silent Hill franchise is dead because it's not actually getting finished? Because last time I checked, that's an $1,000 demo.
I got something to say. Okay, I understand exactly where Recluse is coming from with the horror genre. What he's saying is that he doesn't want the Angry Bird one night stand like to me Five Nights at Freddy's is like the Angry Birds of the horror world, really. Like, it's just something that you play and pass and get your little poop jump scare, like, oh, that was great. But as far as substance goes, we want a deep psychological effect, like something where you're like, for instance, just watching a movie like It or something, when that clown was talking out of the storm, not the storm drain, but the drain that was in the tub, it made you, while you were taking a shower, think of, like, is there something down there when you were younger? You know what I mean? And he wants that for the horror genre. He wants more of like a scare commitment versus just like something that's just, oh, I got scared for a second and then that was fun.
Right.
I think that's what he's shooting for, if I'm not mistaken.
But there's way too many factors that go into that. There's way too many factors as gamers that also negate the scare factor of a game, and you just can't. You have to think about the fact that you get ridiculed for thinking that something's scary. So with that being for that being an aspect into that, gamers have had to translate ice into their veins a little bit, more or less, to make it not as scary to you, so you don't seem like less of a wuss, I guess.
This is Insidious. So what you're saying is that since we're gamers, we overanalyze things. We delve into like, oh, is the graphics great and stuff like that, and then it just loses its luster.
No, what I'm saying is, Johnny and Timmy buy the same game. They both buy Silent Hill. Johnny gets scared. Timmy doesn't. Timmy tells Johnny, "Oh, you're a punk for getting scared at this game." Then Johnny has to go back to play the game, and Johnny has to somehow go back to his friend and say he's not scared. So the next time a Silent Hill or next time a horror game comes out, you have to have a little bit more ice in your veins to play the horror genre game. So once you have the proverbial ice in your veins, it just stops being scary.
Yeah, but like if we're going in with that, then all horror stories lose everything because you're gonna do that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
Well, here's my thing. I think instead of the decline of horror games like you're talking about, I think instead of that, you're talking about more of a shift in the type of horror. Because some people find jump scares and stuff like that to be horrifying, and they are haunted by that. They think the puppet's going to be in their room at night. So, yeah, I can see where you're saying the decline of your traditional views of the type of horror games. It is declining, except kind of in the indie market with the game Aoni, I believe it's called. It's a indie RPG, which was fantastic. Which is the type of horror you're talking about?
Well, I mean, there's also more that I want to add to that, but
going back on what you were saying, Samurai, this is Ice Age, by the way. If you're going in for scares, I don't think you give a crap what other people would think. Like, because me personally, if I'm going to go in watching something that I know is pretty much going to scare me, I don't care if other people think that I'm going to be a wuss for thinking that scares me. I'm like, I'm going in for my personal, like, experience. I don't care what other people think about my experience.
If you don't mind me retorting. Think about, go back in time in your mind. Think about when Resident Evil 1, 2, all those came out. Literally the way your friends, the way your group of friends did it was you bought the game, you played it, everyone had to play it with the lights off. So that when you got that cutscene to open the door, it was scary. If there was a zombie on the other side of the door, it was immediately scary because everything in your room went black. There was a door, you open the door, there's a zombie. It was scary. It was a jump scare. That jump was scary. So after a while, when you start to grow up and mature a little bit, it stops being scary. And then after a while, you realize not everything is the horror classic Slenderman. We can't all just be.
Here's the other thing to like for you. Everybody gets scared of something different. It's always going to be arbitrary for everybody. Nobody gets scared of like somebody could be scared of one thing and I think it's completely stupid, and then vice versa. I could be scared of one thing and somebody else would think that's dumb. So you can't really just like nail it down to like, oh, everybody's going to think I'm a wuss. It's like everybody's scared of something different.
Yeah.
It's like that's the same thing with phobias.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to have the same phobia.
Well, that actually brings me to my next point. Lately in the horror genre, back when Resident Evil first came out, it was, you had the door sequences, and granted, it was just a fancy loading screen, but it was still, you never know what was on the other side of the door. Is there going to be another zombie? Am I going to have to run through this hallway? You never knew what was going on. But now, it's all gore set pieces. It's how much blood and body parts can we fit on the screen, rather than how much can we screw with the player. Like Dead Space had a great thing going, and in Dead Space 2, I really thought that they were going to expound on that. Like, spoilers ahead, like, you never knew, at the beginning, you didn't know if you were actually killing necromorphs, or were you killing other people? And that was something that I thought about. It's like, am I insane? Am I really hurting other people, or is this really happening? But then Dead Space 3 came out, and it was just more action set pieces jumping through windows and explosions, and how far they could throw Isaac Clarke off of things without him dying.
So they just pretty much pulled the Resident Evil, how 1 through 3 was like pretty much a horror game. Number 4 is when they changed the element. It's still a horror game, but they add a little bit of the action element, and then number 5 and 6 is just the horror element is gone.
Exactly. But they came back with the DLC for Dead Space 3, and I'm a big Dead Space fanboy. I loved the series, and so I bought it, and it was a much needed boost for the game. It was already too far gone, what with the pay to win, buy ammo, buy weapons kind of crap EA started. But I mean, even so, it got towards the point to where the players were hallucinating that their teammate was a necromorph, and they started to try to kill each other.
This is Maddox here. I think the one thing that I'm disappointed in the genre is like dealing with Resident Evil when it first came out. it was the survival part that scared me the most. Because, like, it took forever to find ammo. Like, and if you did, you didn't even use it because, like, of how hard it was to get. But nowadays, in these horror games, like, you find ammo, like, just walking 2 steps, every 2 steps. It's like, I got all this ammo. I think, like, if they went back to the survival part, it would put a little bit more scare. Like, that's why I enjoyed Silent Hill series, because, like, it was like that.
All right, so this is Gsquared here. So we need to dig a little bit deeper. Are we wanting an art piece that really messes with the psychological side of who we are as human beings, like digging into that depth? Or do we feel as if like Five Nights at Freddy's is like an art piece that digs into the depth of like the human psyche as far as horror? Like this is where the conversation is coming into play. Like, do we want definite, like, for years and years horror, or do we want, like, you know, just looking at it as a game, I can turn off when it's scary, when it's not scary kind of deal? Yes.
This Insidious, by the way, I just want to say, like, with the horror genre especially, it is kind of hard to, like, really hit the right mark, because like Ice Age mentioned before, everyone's scared of a different thing, everyone has different phobias, so when you really want to hit that really good horror, it's really hard to do, because not everyone's going to be afraid of that. Like, some people can watch a bunch of zombies jumping at them and it would be fine, but the moment he sees like a spider woman or something like that, they freak out. So it's completely different, and it's really hard to hit a really good horror game if you're trying to go for total horror.
So, this is Zodiac. I'm not a big horror player. I'm really not. I'm really a coward, even in the world of games, movies, whatever have you. And I do like praise Hideo Kojima for all the work he's done with the Silent Hill series, everything like that. And as for the horror genre as a whole, it's really just painting the unknown. You don't really need a scary... This is my thoughts. You don't really need a scary monster. You just need the idea of a scary monster. You need that kind of atmosphere and immersion. Like, I actually think Bloodborne did a fairly good job with the unknown, from the little I've played. It's not, I wouldn't classify it as a horror, but there are certain creatures and bosses, like there's a spider that just rests on a lake, and it just has eyes all over it, and it doesn't do anything. It just sits there as you get close to it. And that freaked me out, just from watching it, just from, you know, walking around a little bit that I did. And then it just starts spawning stuff after you attack. It freaked me out. And that's what I think horror really needs, is survival elements and the unknown, where you're fighting the darkness.
This is Grim Samurai. Now, like I said, my original point was that I don't think it's so much the death of that the Silent Hill was like the fall of horror or whatever. It's more of there's more attributes that contribute to it than what we just consciously think about when we look at a game. Like, I want all of you to think back to Slenderman. You're a person in the forest. You're walking around. You have to find these pieces of paper, and then if you get close, your screen starts to static, and then you just one time you'll see him and you'll just run the other direction, and then in your life you will check for, you know, the dude behind you, the creepy guy behind you. I mean, Resident Evil, when Nemesis shoots a rocket through the police department, you would check for Nemesis. If your lights were off, that scared the crap out of you. But there's also, I mean, we have to think about the generation. We can't please everybody. Not everyone is. If you're trying to appeal to a generation right now, and that generation is jump scares like Five Nights at Freddy's, I mean, what else are gaming companies supposed to do? Maybe that's the next instant of genre of horror.
And as I said, going back on what you said, like I said, it's arbitrary what everybody takes. Because I personally think Slender Man is utterly stupid. I grab his crayon drawings and suddenly he comes after me. I think that's absolutely retarded. But that's just me. But how I look at it with horror, you know, like, when I think of horror, I think of when I'm going down a hole, the deeper I go, the more I start to realize I'm getting into something that's making me feel like I straight up feel terrible. It makes me like feel like I'm dying a little bit inside. And like I'm gonna bring up an example. A good example of that is a fairly lesser known NES title called Sweet Home.
Yes.
Holy crap! Like as you play through the game, it starts off as like a simple little like horror thing where it's like, oh no, a ghost trapped you in a mansion. Whatever are you gonna do? But as you start to unwind what actually went on in this mansion, you start to like find out some really messed up stuff. Like, okay, I'm gonna spoil one thing. You find out that the lady dropped her baby in a furnace, and it caused her to completely go mad. And like when she lost her mind, she's like, I don't want my baby to be alone. So she went out and kidnapped children and burned them in the furnace because she didn't want her child to be alone. It's stuff like that that I feel that we need a little more of, where it's like as you go deeper, as you like dig deeper into this hole, you start uncovering some things that just absolutely make you feel terrible.
Just before anybody goes on, I would like to put on record that we do not condone putting children in furnaces.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Seriously though, that's why I like Five Nights at Freddy's. Starts out as just a jump scare fest. You actually delve into the story. I love the story of Five Nights at Freddy's. That's exactly the reason why.
They put babies in furnaces?
I just no, and to go back into the Slenderman thing, when I first found out of Slenderman, I thought I was like, hey, what is this? I actually watched a video of other people doing it, and I thought it was pretty interesting. But then I go like, then I started seeing the YouTube had more videos of it, had nothing to do with the game. They were like, whoa, this is an actual thing. I never even knew Slenderman actually like it had a folklore to it. So I started like, that's the one game that made me like research about a creature so much, and it creeped me out about some of the videos that I've watched. And to me, horror is like, if anyone has watched the 1950s version of the Twilight Zone, when you watch it by yourself in a completely dark room, and while you're watching it, you notice it, your skin begins to crawl, you start checking left and right. Like when you turn it off, you can't you have to stay up because you don't know what's behind that door. Like, oh my god, like utter terror. That's to me, that's terror.
But the game was Sweet Home on the Super Nintendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
NES.
On the NES. So, I mean, but that's to say, it wasn't the actual gameplay, it wasn't an actual jump factor that contributed to the fact that the game was scary. It was the fact that the story was so good that the game was scary. Same with Five Nights at Freddy's.
Now, here's the other thing about that. Like, the game jump scared you so much that you just become, like, completely unaffected by it. Like, every time you see an enemy, it just jumps up in front of you and then you fight it. And you get jump scared so much to the point where it's like, okay, there's an enemy coming. I know what's about to happen. I'm just gonna beat him up and then I'm good to go.
Well, see, the story of Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't hate so much. When I actually found out about it, I was actually really intrigued by it. But it was the presentation of, it's a jump scare fest. Whereas, and going back to it, Silent Hill, it wasn't jump scares. It was like you knew something was coming, but you didn't know where. You had the radio with a white noise that would go off, and you enter a room, and then all of a sudden your radio starts blaring, and it's like, okay, where is it? 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 And you see nothing. But then you cross over the room, you cross into another door, and then bam, you got like 18 things in one room ready to jump on you.
And then permitted.
So, this is Zodiac once more. My final thoughts on like Five Nights at Freddy's is that the story, it's not blatantly out there. It's like hidden between the lines. And someone like me, like, I'll dig deep into Slenderman. I actually did. So I did like the lore of Slenderman as a creature. But Five Nights, I didn't see anything appealing. I had to actually look at other content that people have already dug up and did research on. So I didn't get any kind of enjoyment or fulfillment out of that. So it was not horror to me. Like, as far as like, oh, I play this because the story is so good. Right. Because I found it elsewhere.
But, and this is Gsquared, just real quick. What sells you is the jump scares of Five Nights at Freddy's. You wouldn't care about the lore or anything if it didn't introduce, like, oh, you're going to get scared because of the jump scares first. It took some real aggressive fandom to kind of like say, hey, there is an actual story here, you know. But as far as just like kind of making you dig psychologically deeper to find out, that it wasn't that game. It was So what you got?
Well, going back to what you said about Silent Hill, where you go into a room, you don't know what's coming, but you know there's something there. You hear the static on the radio, and then you go into the next room and bam, there's enemies there. What the jump scares, and I actually kind of hate the term jump scares. I think it's actually kind of a negative term for something that is actually pretty good. It's actually just a condensed version of that. In Five Nights at Freddy's, you know that there's something coming from you. You don't know where it's going to come from, but you know it's there. It's always there. So you have that feeling that something is coming for you. So it is kind of like Silent Hill. It's just super condensed down into quote-unquote jump scares.
A recurring theme that I've noticed with all these games that we've been mentioning is vulnerability of the player, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, like, for me, the scariest part of a game I've ever played was honestly Monster Hunter 3, I think. 3DS. I was in the lake with the first boss that you're supposed to fight. The giant underwater.
Recluse.
Yeah, that. That's the most terrifying part of the video game for me. And I'm not really scared of most horror games.
It's that vulnerability in the water.
Yeah.
It's
for
being
something like that.
vulnerable from every direction.
Right.
Like, what's it called? The Alien Isolation. There's the invulnerable alien.
I can't believe that I never mentioned that. That game.
That is good.
That game personifies a lot about what's good about the horror genre. I mean, it's not all about jump scares. It takes the player, it takes them out of their comfort zone, and it's basically I have nothing but praise for that game. Absolutely nothing but praise.
This is Mckraken. For me personally, Five Nights at Freddy's, when I played it, it honestly made me boring. It basically bored me to death. But other games where, you can feel completely vulnerable, like Outlast. That game, the first time I ever played it, I got to the first jump scare, and I just turned my console off. And I waited a day and went back and had to replay it.
That's awesome. That's
Outlast
awesome.
is amazing.
It is.
But like isn't all these things, these little niche things that you don't think about as soon as the game comes out, aren't all these things that kind of attribute to the factor that either you're going to be scared of it or you're not. The vulnerability of Monster Hunter, you're in the water, you can't do anything, and it just sneaks up on you. There's not it's going to scare you unless you know it's coming. And the thing that I like about this, the Five Nights at Freddy thing that Mckraken brought up, also think about the amount of content that gets released on YouTube and Twitch, and you don't actually have to buy it. And if you're a lot of people nowadays, if you're interested, you go look it up. And then you watch the stream or you watch the video. All of a sudden, it's not as scary. You've seen it one time. So if you go watch Five Nights at Freddy's, you're just all right, so I have to check the camera. Oh man, it ran out of power. Now, which direction is it coming from? I know it's coming. We all know it's coming. The question is, does it get me or doesn't it? And then it's not scary anymore.
Right.
This is Omegaxis. We've all mentioned like a lot of really good points, horror games and whatnot. And me personally, I'm not a horror enthusiast at all. I think horror movies are stupid because they follow too many dumb tropes. And horror games actually scare me because there's a level of interaction that's not there in movies that's in games. But one horror game that no one has mentioned that I've actually wondered about, for those of you that play horror games, because I hear nothing but praise from everyone that talks about it, is Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem for the GameCube. I honestly want to know, why do people think that game is so good and so scary?
Now, since you brought that up, now I got 2 points to bring up.
By all means.
The first game that I was gonna bring back on was Amnesia.
Right.
Because going back to the whole vulnerability argument, you are completely vulnerable. You have nothing to stop you besides a door and praying to God that whatever is chasing you is not going to get you. But that's like another reason why people love that one so much, and why it's like considered like it's really good at setting up the mood. But as far as Eternal Darkness goes, that game just completely just messes with your brain. As you play it, like the game will specifically do things that make you question reality. Like there's one instance where it'll blue screen, and you're like, the hell? And then like you come back and something's attacking you. Or like you could be walking down a hallway and your head comes off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, going to the whole vulnerability part, I think games like that, Amnesia,
You played it. We watched it.
it goes way too far. It takes complete enjoyment out of the game for me because I cannot defend myself at all. Why bother playing the game to me? Same thing with Slender Man. I hate Slender Man. You can't do anything. You're just walking around, oh, well, there's that big bad guy. I can't defend myself at all. Why even bother playing? It's dumb to me. But Eternal Darkness, though, it is absolutely one of my favorite games of all time. Just one, because the story is fantastic, but as Ice Age was saying, they just do things that you wouldn't expect. There's healing spells in the game. It casts glyphs on the ground. After the glyphs fill up, lightning goes into you and it heals you. Sometimes instead of doing that, you explode when the lightning goes into you, and then it flashes and your character's sitting there screaming, just going crazy. Other times, you'll walk into a room, your video will click off. It'll just say video in the top of the screen, like old TVs used to do.
Yep.
And it's just the game. It's just the game doing that. And it clicks right back to the normal gameplay after that.
To touch back to keep going on Eternal Darkness, like the game was scary in the sense that it was a complete player psychological thrill fest. Like there was a point, it was me and my brother were playing because whenever there was a horror game on the table, like we'd walk up to the door and we'd hand the controller off and be like, nope, you do it. But we got to the final boss of Eternal Darkness after so many hours of grinding. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Let's pause and save the game. And we paused, we go to save the game, and it goes, now deleting all files of Eternal Darkness, and all the pictures started to vanish, and it said that it cleared the memory card. And we were like, no! And so right when we go to turn the game off, because we thought it was actually deleting it, it flashed. But we turned the GameCube off, and we lost all the data anyway.
He was next.
So with all that being said about Eternal Darkness, so we're all like in unanimous opinion that if a game is down to you literally mess with the way that you play games, if it's just the tiniest bit off the norm, such as the blue screening, like that doesn't happen in any game, it's gonna mess with you, and especially if it comes back on and you're being attacked. But if you think about it, a lot of these games, although rather poorly, in my opinion, nowadays, if you think about what the actual horror genre is, it's the unknown happening and what you deal with it. In the case of Resident Evil just mobs you with zombies. You'll get those random fights where you're mobbed with zombies, and usually it happens at the start and you only have a pistol. In every movie that I've seen, if there is X amount of zombies that X just happens to be over 25, that person is dead. Every time. They kill like 4 zombies. Then he's dead. And it just so happens that the game, it being a game, it has to give you the ability to play out of the scenario. So, does that tear away from the horror?
Omegaxis accidentally actually brought us back around to why it's so sad we're losing Silent Hills. Silicon Knights are the people that, well, the late great Silicon Knights, they're not a company anymore. They're the ones that made Eternal Darkness. They also did the remake of Metal Gear Solid by Hideo Kojima on the GameCube.
Which I still haven't forgiven.
If you have Eternal Darkness data on your memory card while you're playing Metal Gear Solid, Psycho Mantis calls you out on it in the middle of the game. So even outside of the game,
It
messes with you in another game. So that's why I think it's so sad that we're actually losing Hideo Kojima from Silent Hills.
Right. With that being said, this discussion was more to talk about like how these games are kind of losing its value as far as like a scare factor, like a more commitment-filled scare factor. I would honestly say that we kind of agree, yes, it is gone, but there are classics that you can dig back up to kind of see exactly where the genre is supposed to be. And obviously, Five Nights at Freddy's isn't unanimously hitting that mark for everybody. And this is something that's kind of like spicy food. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody is going to like spicy food. Some people may say this is extremely hot when it's mild, and other like want atomic ghost pepper, whatever, you know, type of spicy food. It is definitely, it's a really delicate topic, and I think that if we continue to talk about it a little bit further, we will probably sit here all day really trying to define something that is as deep as the human psychology itself. You know what I mean? So ultimately, with that being said, we're going to have to close it up a little bit. But first, we're going to hear from our youngest member, and what he thinks about fear in video games.
Holy crap, Bambi is talking?
He can walk, guys. He
What
can
you got,
walk.
man?
talking.
What you got?
This is Compton here. I'm from that newer generation in horror video games, and I've only played about 2 or 3. I've played Five Nights at Freddy. It wasn't really appealing to me. It wasn't really scary. But when I jumped into Resident Evil, I was so scared I had to ask my brother to play it for me, and he jumped in with me, but I ran away. I was too scared to do the game. And, like, he just got mad at me and started yelling. And then I finally did it. And I was just jumping up and down. And I couldn't handle playing it no more. I wanted to play 6, but I was too scared. And the Resident Evil, it was just too scary for me. But Five Nights at Freddy wasn't really scary.
Don't worry, in Resident Evil 6, you just jump through a helicopter on a motorcycle.
No, I mean, no.
You punch boulders.
He does make a really good
Spoiler
point.
alert.
He does.
He does make a really good point. We're all remembering horror games from when we were his age.
Right.
True.
He's experiencing Resident Evil, his Resident Evil,
Right.
at his age.
And exactly, that's why I was saying that.
Well, it's not just that. It's like when I went to Sweet Home, I played that in like 5 years ago. So, and I'm 27 right now.
Right.
But that game still messes with me.
Well, see, the thing is, again, it's like what Jagd was bringing up. You know, it doesn't mean we can't go back to really enjoy a horror game. And actually, I've never played Eternal Darkness. I had no idea it was that
I kind of want to play
crazy.
it.
It's time to play it.
We have it in the OTG collection, and I think that'll be a good like Culture Lab game to play. But ultimately, we do have to bring this to a close. I appreciate everybody for showing up. Zodiac's going to actually bring us to a close. But first,
Okay.
the bonus question.
Oh, boy.
Awesome, let's do it.
All right. Now, the bonus question itself isn't as, heartfelt as last time, but what we have identified in video games is that we've actually grown relationships with some of the actual video game characters themselves. As weird as that may sound to the normal person, you kind of get attached to certain characters and you want to jump to their defense. So the bonus question is that what video game character, if you could have just one person or character you can jump in and defend for and fight the fight with them, what character would that be and why?
This is Haradani. I ain't said nothing this whole time.
Bonus question.
I want Vivi from Final Fantasy IX.
You stole my
No love for the mic
the
right
best
now.
black mage in the world.
Hold on. No love for the mic right now.
But go ahead, finish off. Let him finish.
No love for the mic.
All right, Kanye.
I did not play Final Fantasy. I hadn't played Final Fantasy IX until my ex got it for me. I had played the characters, Vivi's story, his background, what he has to go through. You feel bad. But he's the most powerful black mage in any Final Fantasy game I've played.
Yeah.
That dude nearly soloed the book in the solo one of the extra bosses for me.
Right.
That dude was
He killed
amazing.
everybody on my team,
Same.
including my teammates.
But
My bad,
Vivi
guys.
is like my favorite character just because he keeps showing up, and he's a continuous character. Like he was in the Kingdom Hearts series,
Right.
and he just always his character, his persona. You can see it just about everywhere.
So Haradani, what would you do? What would you do to help him? Like
I'd body block.
Okay, all right.
I would guard him with my life.
That's
I would,
awesome.
Because
All right.
the night you get paired with.
For this discussion, we're going to go round table, and we're actually going to move in the direction of Dan.
Yeah.
So,
No, you go the opposite direction. I gotta think.
Okay. We got more people to think. What about you, Chris?
This is Insidious. Damn, put me on the spot a little bit. Now I have to think.
All right, Colin.
All right.
That's gonna
No, but
if you got to think, then if there's somebody who already has theirs, we're gonna break the round table discussion. We'll go with Recluse.
The first game that ever had me actually give a crap about the storyline and the characters within it was Final Fantasy VII with Eris.
Oh.
But, can of worms.
Yeah,
Shish kebab, and I still smile.
Okay, all right, okay. But that's how he personally feels. You feel as if you
It was the first RPG that I ever played,
Right.
and I have a thing for cutesy characters, and Eris was a cutesy character. And then when she died, I'm not gonna lie, I cried. But then I was also like 12 at the time. But yeah,
There's no shame in that.
Okay.
And
All
then
right.
she keeps
What
up
would you do to help her?
I would take that blow for her. I would
Oh
do that.
wow, that's. Whew. All right, go ahead.
But she already died.
What you got, man?
Leon S. Kennedy. I've been a Resident Evil fan since day one. I own all the books, all of it. I own all of it. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the question is, who would you, if you had one character, who would you jump in with, fight the good fight? Leon, Resident Evil 2, when he showed up, it was like the most. He was stuck with Claire of all people. Miss, I can't shoot a gun. I came in on a motorcycle. Let me stick close to you, but get lost every single time. Redfield. No. I feel bad for him. So and then he just turns out to be the most badass character in the game. But if I could be stuck in Resident Evil 2 time to give him a more competent partner than Claire, I would do that. And how would I help him? I would go get ammo.
That ammo. Hey, I got you, boss. I got you. Here's some more ammo, man. Come on, like fight that good fight.
Come on, Max. I picked these bullets out of this trash can.
All right, go ahead.
So this is Zodiac, and I'm gonna enter heavy spoiler territory.
Okay.
The person who I would help out is Jackie from Sleeping Dogs. He is pretty much the young blood, new to the triads in China. Wants to make a name for himself, live like a semi-cozy life. He's all about like the action. We're gonna mess these people up, but he's a nice guy. I would actually have to do two things. I would prevent him from killing his first person. He did it in self-defense, and it kind of broke him, made him want to get out of the life. And two, I would mess up the entire gang that killed him before they killed him, because that made me mad and actually made me want to complete the game in one night. Because as soon as that scene happened, oh my god, I was pissed. And the game rewarded me, because you go on this Kill Bill rampage, and it was beautiful. But I would have to save him.
But he was a nice guy.
All right, Jagd, I know you had something. Who you got?
Okay. I mean, this might sound strange to you, a lot of you guys. I don't know if you played the new one or not, but Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider. That game is one of the only games that's made me feel for the main character. I actually wanted to crawl into the game and just hold Laura and tell her that it was gonna be all right. No, seriously, because of how it's portrayed. Not because she's a weak character, but because she's strong and she's carrying it through the entire game. You guys, seriously,
you better check that privilege.
Seriously, you guys play that game if you have not. It affected me that much.
No, it is definitely a good game.
Does somebody have something else?
I got one.
Omegaxis.
I would have gone with Atsuro from Devil Survivor 1 again, but after thinking, and like, that dude doesn't need my help. He can save the world on his own. He doesn't need my help. Who needs my help? It's my little homie that was with me all throughout Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, Kayamba.
Okay.
That dude, he had my back. Cha-Cha, screw that guy. I put the feline mask on him, and he just blew me up all the time. I swear, we fought Devil Joe one time, and he woke him up as soon as he ate sleep meat. I hate that little bastard. But Kayamba, that guy's a homie. You put the ultimate mask on him, he's cool. He just takes hits like nothing. He's like, Devil Joe, whatever. That guy's not nothing.
Well, see, you're using him. What would you do to help him?
I'd go back him up. Oh, you're sitting there blocking that Devil Joe for me? Let me go stab him in the legs and knock him over so we can cut his tail off. Let's go.
How about you put on
Get
that
in
mask?
there. How about you? I'd be too strong.
How about you white mage for him?
All right. What you got, man?
Axel, Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh yes!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh my
god!
But if you haven't played it,
Too much.
definitely play it. When he died, that was terrible because like he.
Sorry, it's the series. If you haven't played anymore, he died.
Spoiler. Yeah. Anyway.
Spoiler.
Sorry. Yeah, because I don't want to say it because there's so much to it. Just go play it, and you'll see.
But what would you do for him? If you were to jump in, what would you do for him?
I would help him with those last, Heartless that killed him. That was when he got overwhelmed.
Got it. Who's next? Ice Age. What's up?
Oh boy, this one I gotta go with Zach from Crisis Core.
That's a good one.
That was a really good one. Yeah, that's
because
hitting it in the feels right there.
Okay, spoiler alert: he dies.
Dun, dun.
But that final
fight,
though.
the final fight is the most bullshit of the whole fucking game. I'm sorry, I had to use profanity for that because it is horse crap. The guy is literally standing in front of a whole army. He's not having it. He's like, you know what? Y'all are an army. But guess what? I'm the strongest army. I'm about to whoop that ass.
And it does not end.
It doesn't. It doesn't end until his life bar hits 0. And how I would be right there. I'd be his healer. I'd be his cleric. I'd be beating people's asses as hard as he was and keeping him healed. He wouldn't have a bullet wound at the end. He wouldn't have a bullet wound in his forehead at the end of the game.
Got you.
My one had to be Deckard Cain from Diablo 3.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I followed Deckard Cain since
sad.
Diablo 1, 2, and 3, and like
I didn't know
they killed him. I don't care. If you have not played this game, you were slow. Like, I don't care.
It shocked me that they killed him. At the
Yeah,
beginning
like,
of the game.
if I could, I'd go in there and just, like, throat punch Magda. Just, like, wham! Bitches just killed Diablo with bugs.
Killed him.
I want to stay a while and listen.
Yeah, stay a while and listen.
What else y'all got? Who's next? I know Compton.
Compton hasn't done one.
We need you play.
But you know what? In Compton's defense, he's learning.
He plays Call of Duty.
No. It's not.
So
that.
you were sad for
Save
something
Kevin
McTavish?
Spacey. Save Kevin Spacey.
He's
what? Save Kevin Spacey.
Compton is learning that the games are a lot deeper than what just playing them, and this is his first thing, like his first time ever encountering a group that cares about the culture. He didn't even know there was a culture. He's a younger guy, so he's still learning. I can understand why he wouldn't have one yet. But has anyone else gone? Has everyone up? We got Chris. What's up, man?
If it had to be one, it would be a shooter from Shooter's Wrath, because for everything that happened to him, like he lost his wife, his daughter got kidnapped, everyone was conspiring against him, make him the fall guy, and he didn't do anything. He just wanted to live his life as peaceful as he could, spending his time with his daughter and his wife, and he didn't deserve that. If I had to help him, I would help him by like saving his wife's life and helping rescue his daughter, because he, like, as I've played through the game, he didn't deserve that.
You know, his sole motivation for killing the last boss was that he made his daughter cry.
Yeah, it's like
you could help him to calm down. Like,
yeah, he's such a great guy. Like, I would back him up in everything because he didn't deserve any of that.
What you got?
This is Mckraken. I've basically been a Call of Duty gamer my entire life. And that's what I started on. So the character I would honestly go in and save is Ghost from Modern Warfare.
Yes!
Oh my god!
Yes!
Yes!
As a gamer, that was probably the most depressing moment in a game I've had, was when he died.
Yes! Oh my god, that was so sad.
For a Call of Duty game, all the feels. Like,
that was bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was sad.
Optimus Prime did not have to go and do that.
Spoilers.
Okay, all right. So
I'd say Riley.
I think everyone went around the table. I think I'm the last one. This is Gsquared. First of all, Haradani did steal Vigi from you because he's right. Like that, you know, after you find out exactly what he's going through and he discovers it, it was just like the most painful thing for a character that didn't even have like emotion on his face. He couldn't show it, but you felt it so hard for just reading. Like no voice, you didn't even know what they sounded like or anything. You really felt that. But I can't take that one, so I have to come up with another one. All right. Recently, I just finished the game Ni no Kuni. Okay.
Oh boy.
And I would honestly have to say that I would go to bat for Oliver. And Oliver is like this 12-year-old boy who, in this world, he ends up going to this other world because, spoiler alert, his mother passes away. But he ends up finding an opportunity of saving his mother's death, or saving his mother from death in this alternate universe. And while he's doing this, he's taking little bits and pieces of people's courage and their confidence and kindness and sharing it with the rest of the world while trying to cope with his mother's death. And if I could jump in the game and just be a part of his party while he's doing this journey, I would do it in a heartbeat, because he's by far one of my favorite characters, because he's it's not just about innocence, it's about how pure his heart is on this journey while still coping with the death of his mother. Like, he's putting other people's needs before his own selfish needs. Mr. Compton, he has one.
I am a big Call of Duty fan, and Modern Warfare 3, I think, is when Roach dies. And it was the hardest part for me, because I played him since the beginning of Call of Duty. And in 3, it was the hardest part, because all you seen was Soap break down, and the first thing he does is turn around and hit, and what's it?
I forgot. It's been
a while. I forgot his name, but he turns around and he goes off and knocks this guy down the stairs.
Yuri.
Yuri. He knocks him down the stairs.
No, it's Captain Price who knocks Yuri down the stairs.
I just said that.
He said Soap. Soap is not Captain Price.
Either way.
Yeah. Captain Price knocks him down the stairs, and he blames it all on Yuri. And that was just like the hardest part of that game for me.
Okay, so in closing, excellent bonus topic question. Like, I mean, everyone kind of looks forward to the bonus topic questions because it really digs deeper into our culture and our fascination and commitment and passion for video games. But again, thanks everybody for coming out and giving their part on the horror genre. Definitely probably the most difficult topic we've had, due to the fact that it's the most ambiguous topic of all. And because of our personal fears, we can't really say what's scary and what's not scary, because like Ice Agent said, everybody's different. But to back up Recluse, there is an art to scary. There is an art to horror. And I think that's what we were trying to tag, is like, is there an actual definition answer for guaranteed scary?
And it is not the evil within.
But with that being said, thanks for everybody for coming. This closes out the podcast. Zoe, please take us away.
All right, thank you all for watching again. I personally love doing these podcasts, and we get a pretty good turnout each time. I'd like to thank you all for coming, watching, listening, and sharing.
Please like and subscribe.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe!
Yeah! Don't forget to follow